Hey everyone, just going to do a quick video here and hopefully help some people out if they run into this issue that I never thought I would run into. But I'm going to call it my C5 motor mount Saga. So I got the C5 up on the quick jacks and the jack is holding the motor up because it has no engine mounts in it. So just going to run through what I've been going through for the past week in hopes that it helps somebody else. So I'm going to throw you in the holder here and go through some of this with you. So probably last year I noticed I was getting some deflection in the shifter. Now the car, heads cam, tuned, has about 456 wheel horsepower, 420 torque. So I put in probably 4 years ago Hinson urethane stock height motor mounts and their diff mount. After I got it tuned, I had to get a clutch put in it, I had the trans gone through, and then I put 390 gears in it. After that, I decided to go with the Rick Wells trans brace, which is the knockoff, so to speak, of the FOD design. There's nothing wrong with that. That's worked fine ever since. Well, probably last year I noticed a little bit of deflection in the shifter. So say you're in 6th gear, cruising along, push the throttle down, let off. I was getting a good bit of movement out of the shifter, and I just didn't like that. So, hey, the shifter rod goes back to the trans. I'm thinking maybe something happened to that diff mount, trans brace, whatever you want to call it. Did a visual inspection, it all looked fine. Anyway, fast forward, AMT has their Memorial Day sale. I've been eyeing up their products for a long time. Mark makes great products. This in no way, shape, or form has anything to do with Mark's product, just probably my situation specifically. So Mark, thank you, great products. These things are amazing. Just a quick sidebar. Anyway, so I went and bought his new double barrel diff mount, threw that in last Wednesday. Really no change in NVH. Still a little bit of gear noise I got from the other one. Didn't change anything. So I had already bought the motor mounts. I bought it all at the same time. I figured, hey, it's got to be those Hinson mounts. Then that's the only thing left. So I pull them out, and lo and behold, this is what I find. So I don't know if you'll see this on camera, but they have started to separate. And I can actually move these by hand. This one's not quite as bad as the other. This one's a little worse. I'm not sure which side this was on, but I mean, this thing is loose. So you can see how much it's moving there. I can almost pull it out. So that motor was moving. That undoubtedly was the cause of the deflection. So I think these are about 4 years old. So they were done, they were due. They were fine otherwise. So hey, throw in the AMT mounts. I love this design. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, check out Mark's videos and everything a little more in depth. We'll go through it, about the design. Essentially, it's two very nice machined and anodized cups, two pieces of vulcanized rubber, aluminum insert, sandwiched together, bolt down through, and voila, you have yourself a very solid engine mount with a little bit of rubber inside with a little bit of give. And it's all smooth, everything's perfectly machined and fits really well. Really excited, threw these in, and wow, guess what? Gone. The shifter deflection is gone completely. No longer there. However, I did a lot of research on these things, and I read a lot of posts on Corvette Forum. Everybody loves these. They say, hey, some guys have went from these Hinsons to these and said maybe just a little bit more vibration. There's a lot of mods done to this car, so I'm assuming it has something to do with the way it's set up between the cam, the clutch, the trans, the diff. I got two bone chattering, rattle your beer out of the holder, drink holder vibrations. One that between 1100 and 1400 RPMs, and the other a little higher between probably 28 to 3200 RPMs. And it's so bad that you don't want to drive the car. It was that bad. And you know, I went back, checked every bolt that I touched to make sure it was torqued. I do have torque wrenches. I use torque wrenches. Everything was fine. So I said to myself, it's got to be my car. Really, nobody else complains about this. You know, I must be getting vibration, whether it's the cam, the clutch, whatever it is. Now, I always did have a little vibration around 1800, 2000 with these. And with these, that's gone. But it was nowhere near as intense. And, you know, hey, I got long tubes. I've had Corsa Extremes. It's got Corsa Sports on it now because my neighbors were a little mad about how loud the car was. You know, I can handle some vibration. It's on coilovers. It's not a weekend cruiser. It's cars driven. So I got to thinking and said, hey, it's got to be, you know, this more solid design, even though this rubber is supposed to help. And I think we're back. Sorry about that. The camera mount fell off the toolbox. So where was I? Yes. So I said, hey, it's got to be something in the car. It's got to be, you know, I doubt it's the mounts. I mean, lots of people have these. I think Mark City's sold a couple hundred sets of these. So, you know, and I think they fit anything from a C5, C6. So, you know, they fit a heck of a lot of cars, and a lot of people have them. So I said, hey, you're a pretty smart guy. Let's see if we can figure this out. Now, the great thing about this design is you can get these in and out without dropping the cradle. These, you have to drop the cradle a little bit. The stock mounts, you have to drop the cradle a little bit. With these, you can just loosen both the bottom bolts. It's a little easier if you take the top bolt out of the engine bracket. You can get that with a real long extension and a wobble extension. And I believe it's 13 millimeter. I can literally get the mounts these out of this car with jacking it up on the quick jack in about 20 minutes. These are super easy. You just push the engine up a little bit with a jack, and these slide right out. And you can, and I got big hands, so I can fit right in there. The driver's side, it's a lot easier than the passenger, but you can slide these in now. So the first thing I wanted to do is say, hey, you know, is it the mounts? Try again, folks. Hopefully it stays this time. If not, we'll do it again and I'll cut the video again. Anyway, so I wanted to see if it was the mounts. So I got to thinking, hey, these are rubberized or vulcanized rubber. What could I use that's hard like that? So I have a quick jack, and I do not use these smaller blocks. So I'm like, hey, these are designed to hold a car up, right? So what I did is I cut a couple strips of these things. Actually a little thinner than this. This was a test strip. I probably cut them, I don't know, 1/4 inch maybe on the table saw, so they weren't perfect. And what I did is I drilled a hole in them, and I isolated both sides of the mount just to make sure with this in it. Just like that, and sandwiched them. Totally, I mean, the vibration was gone like 90%. It's still there, you could feel it, which I anticipated, but I'm like, all right, that was it. So this was not a long-term solution. I knew that, so I'm like, hey, these are hard rubber, they hold up a car. I took another block, and I took a hole saw. I measured these. I have the measurements somewhere, they're like 47 millimeter, I think. I forget how tall they are. But I took this block, I took a hole saw, a 51 millimeter hole saw, exactly did the trick, and I drilled and made my own rubber puck for the center. So I made 2 of these, I put them in, and as you can see, what happened is this rubber is not quite up to snuff as hard as I thought it would be, or maybe because it's not encased like these ones are. And it went in, fits in real nice, but even at 25 pounds of torque, it kind of bubbled it out a little bit, and I really didn't like that, but it really took care of the vibration. So I got to thinking again, well, you know, what could I use that would be harder than this? It's still going to take some vibration out. So what's the next best thing that's vulcanized rubber? Oh, Lucky Bucks. So I took a couple of just practice pucks, did the same thing, took the hole saw, cut 2 of those. Got some really ugly looking holes here because they were just test. Put those in, put them back in the car. Again, I can do this pretty quick now, and much different result. They didn't balloon out, but I was still got to thinking, I'm like, there's still a good bit of deflection in there. They drove okay. Is this really going to be a long-term solution? So what does everybody else use in motor mounts? Polyurethane. So again, like I said, I measured these, I mic'd them up, went online, searched for a long time, and found as close to this measurement as I could on the original puck, both height and width. And I found two things, and one I'm going to end up using and the other I'm not going to use. So the first one I found were these energy suspension. They call them pads, and they're just universal, like 25 bucks. I got them from Summit because I got them quick. They were a little cheaper on Amazon, but I wanted to get them. So these are just a tad bit larger, and they're a tad bit shorter, just a little bit. So this is about 27-30 seconds. This is 21-30 seconds. Let's see if you can catch the measurements there. 1 15/16, 9/16 hole, and 21-30 seconds thick. So they're a little shorter. So I'm like, well, you know what? It's not a huge deal. I'll do a fast 92 on the car. So they are a little too big to fit in here. So I took them down to the bench grinder, and I took 2 of them, and I just cleaned off the edges and ground it down a little bit until they snap right in and fit right in there. So now I got hard polyurethane. And at this point I'm still like, well, they're a little bit short. So I lined it up next to the OE, the original design, and they're just barely shorter, even though it looks like they're much shorter. But it's really maybe not even a quarter inch, maybe an eighth of an inch, maybe less than that. It's a very small difference. So what else I was going to do is I found these. These are from Prothane. These are actually for a 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air GM motor mount 8-cylinder, 55 to 57. And same story. They're a little too big, but I was going to also just grind those down. They're pretty much the exact width, and then the center hole would need drilled out on these ones. So I was going to do the same thing and grind these off on the bench grinder. So I'm not going to do that. 20 bucks. Oh well, I'm not going to return them. Probably somebody was glad to get rid of them. Some place in Iowa I bought them from, but they were cheap, and it is what it is. So that's where we're at. So we're going to go with these poly centers. We got 2 of them made. We're going to get these in the car right now, and much stiffer than the rubber. Don't see any issue here. Didn't have to drill the centers out. The center holes were fine. I can slip these in about, like I said, 20 minutes, and we'll get her back on the road. But again, this is no anything against Mark and his design of the motor mounts, because lots of people are happy with the way, with just the way they come, and that's great. I wish they would have worked for me, but I'm assuming there's something, obviously component-wise with my car that is causing that extreme vibration. So over the past week, I've probably had these in and out no less than 6 or 7 times, I would say, at this point. But hey, if we didn't have cars to work on, what else would I do, But I enjoyed doing it, and I think I got a good long-term solution here. I'll keep an eye on these. I don't see why these would degrade any more than regular poly. These are the hard poly. I'm not sure if they put the rating on the box, but when I looked them up at Energy Suspension, it was the hardest ones that they made, which I wanted to make sure I got that. They have they have 3 or 4 different grades of how hard it is. These were also, I felt, a little softer than the Energy Suspension ones as well. So The other option is if you do enough searching, there are a couple companies out there that will custom make these, but I just didn't want to get into that. Those are off the shelf. It took me 5 minutes to grind them down on the bench grinder, but I would still highly recommend these over these, just because I think they're about the same price. These might even have been a little cheaper on the sale. And, you know, some people might say, hey, 4 years of abuse is pretty good, but, you know, I think the stock ones lasted longer than that. But it is what it is. You know, maybe they would be fine in a, you know, less aggressively driven car, but it looks like to me the heat got to them. And I did run the heat shields on top of these, actually. I don't know why I did it, but when I put them back in 4 years ago, I had the header. I put them in when I put the headers in, actually. So I had the headers out, made it real easy, and I did put these in. So I don't know which side they were on, quite frankly, but these were on top there to help protect some heat from the headers. So, but yeah, hope somebody finds that useful. If not, you know, the internet will do what the internet does. Have any questions, you know, hit me up in the comments. Be happy to answer them. If there's something you see that you think I overlooked and I'm gonna crash and die and you know, all that fun stuff, but I think I'm gonna be a-okay. This is plenty hard enough. It's good stuff. You know, it's energy suspension. I don't know who makes their stuff, but it says made in America, so you know, we'll go with it. But again, great products from Mark at AMT. I love the diff mount. Virtually the same NVH as the Rick Wells one, which is also a great piece. There's nothing wrong with that. I sold that used, and then also got his pedal extension too to help with heel towing, and it goes on 4 bolts real easy. Nice aluminum piece as well. So great stuff. But, all right, everyone, have a great night, day, whatever it is where you're at.